In a lively neighborhood full of color and noise, there lived a boy named Lee. Everyone in the area knew his name, but not for the reasons a boy his age might hope. Lee was known as the boy who never listened. Not to his teachers, not to his neighbors, and certainly not to the two people who loved him most. His teachers sent home note after note.
Lee is a troublemaker.
Neighbors sighed when they saw him racing through the streets, shouting and laughing without a care in the world.
He's at it again.
Rules, nothing to Lee. Advice meant even less. He believed the whole world was simply a playground made just for him. But the people who worried about him the most were his parents. His father worked long hours every single day. His hands were rough. His eyes were often tired. Lee, life is not just about having fun. You need to think about your future. But Lee would barely listen. Sometimes he nodded just to end the conversation. Then he would jump up and rush back outside to meet his friends. Lee's mother worried even more. Every single night she stood by the door, glancing at the clock again and again, waiting for the sound of his footsteps. Sometimes Lee returned at 8, sometimes 9, sometimes even later.
Where were you? I was so worried.
But Lee would shrug, walk right past her, and say carelessly, "Nothing happened, Mom. You worry too much." And just like that, he was gone again. Days passed like this, then weeks. Lee kept running,
Kick you then. Take if you're wrong.
laughing, arguing,
You're wrong.
and sometimes even getting into fights with other boys in the street.
You always do this.
Me? You're the one who started it!
I did not. Take it back.
Not make me!
Pushing turned into punches. People gathered, watching the chaos unfold. Some neighbors rushed forward, calling out desperately, trying to stop them. An old man standing nearby watched quietly. He sighed and said softly, "This boy will regret this one day." But in that moment, Lee could not hear him. Winning felt like everything. Nothing else mattered. Not the neighbors, not the warnings, not even the quiet ache deep down that something was wrong. That evening, something unusual happened. Lee came home earlier than usual. He stepped through the front door and noticed right away that something felt different. The house was quiet, too quiet. The kitchen lights were on, but no one was there. The living room was empty. Something felt different. Lee walked slowly down the hallway. Then he heard it, voices coming from the next room. His parents were talking. He stopped, and for once in his life, he listened. Father's voice sounded different than usual. It wasn't angry, it wasn't firm. It sounded tired, deeply, quietly tired. And that made Lee stand very, very still. "I don't know how to help him anymore," his father said quietly. Those words drifted through the door like smoke, and they went straight into Lee's chest.
He's still young. Maybe one day he will understand.
Then his father spoke again, and the words that followed were the heaviest Lee had ever heard in his entire life. "I just want him to have a better life than mine." That was all his father said. 7 simple words, but they landed like nothing Lee had ever felt before. The hallway suddenly felt colder, longer. Lee stood there completely still, and something inside him that he had never felt before began to slowly stir. First time in his life, Lee did not feel angry. He did not feel proud. He did not feel excited. He felt only one thing: guilty. That night, Lee could not sleep. He lay in his bed staring at the ceiling, and for the very first time, he actually thought about everything he had done. Remembered every time he ignored his father's patient words. He remembered every time he walked past his worried mother without even looking at her face. He had always believed his parents were trying to control him, but lying there in the dark, he finally understood something he had never thought about before.
They were not trying to control him.
They were trying to protect him. Every word, every worry, every night waiting by the door, it was all because they loved him. Next morning felt different. Lee woke up earlier than he ever had before. The house was quiet, but this time, the quiet felt peaceful rather than strained. He slowly walked into the kitchen. His parents were sitting at the table, their morning tea still steaming. When they looked up and saw him, their eyes went wide with surprise. Lee stood in the doorway. His hands felt nervous. His voice felt smaller than usual. He didn't know exactly what to say, but he knew he had to say something. Looked at them both, and spoke two words that changed everything.
Mom, Dad,
He paused, took a deep breath.
I'm sorry.
His parents stared at him, unsure if they had heard correctly. Lee took another breath and continued.
I didn't understand before, but I understand now.
His mother's eyes filled with tears. She pressed her hands together, trying to hold herself steady, but the tears came anyway, soft and warm and full of relief. His father said nothing at all. He simply stood up slowly, pushed back his chair, and walked toward his son with steady, quiet steps. He didn't scold. He didn't ask questions. He simply wrapped his arms around his son, in the warmest, most powerful hug Lee had ever felt in his life. And in that moment, held in the arms of the two people who had never stopped loving him, Lee understood something that many people take years to learn. The people who love us the most are often the ones we listen to the least. But life has a strange and beautiful way of teaching us exactly what we need to know. Some people learn early, some people learn late, but the truly lucky ones learn before it is too late. Lee was one of the lucky ones. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone you love. A parent, a child, a friend. Sometimes a simple story is all it takes to start a beautiful conversation. Thank you for watching. Every story we share is a little light in the world. See you in the next one. And remember, it's never too late to listen.